You're listening to the CoolCLE Show.
Hi, and thanks for tuning in to the CoolCLE Show, brought to you by CoolCleveland.com, putting you in touch with cool events, people, news, and neighborhoods in the Cleveland region. This week, we're joined by Joe Milliken, author of Let's Go, a biography of Ben Orr, co-founder, co-lead singer, and bassist for the platinum-selling rock band The Cars. The book is available from November 11th, and we'll hear from Milliken about how much Orr's growing up in Cleveland had on his determination to reach rock stardom. We also have brand new music from Cleveland's Michael McFarland. Between his relentless gigging and christening of a new underground music venue called McFarland Manor, he's managed to record some new music, and we have the single on this week's episode. We also have brand new music from a Cleveland hard rock band, Clydeman, so stay tuned. Here's some events that I think should be on your calendar. The Heights Public Library is hosting a number of oral history recording sessions. On November 8th at the Coventry branch, they're looking for stories on civic activism and the Coventry Peace Park. Thanksgiving stories will be the theme of their November 12th session at the Lee Road branch. More will follow throughout December and January. You can visit blog.heightslibrary.org for more information and how to participate. 2 dates left of the public poetry workshops at the Cleveland Public Library. November 10th and December 8th, you can sharpen your writing craft and read and comment on others' work, as well as receive suggestions for your own. The workshops are led by Kesha Nicole Foster, a Cleveland Arts Prize nominee, poet, educator, coach, and mentor. Polka, pierogies, and beer every Wednesday for Old World Wednesday at the Prosperity Social Club. Those events are running until mid-December and are kid-friendly. The Velvomatics are at Diamondback Bar and Grill in Willowick on November 16th. A weekly event of prayer and music is happening at the Institute of St. John's every Thursday until mid-December. The messiest game on TV is now the messiest game show on the road. Double Dare Live is coming to Cleveland at Playhouse Square on November 11th. All the slime and the pies and the booger busting will be hosted by the Double Dare legend himself, Mark Summers. Tickets are available at playhousesquare.org. Forage and Wonder are back in town for a gig at Nahal's on Lakewood on November 14th. The first Women's Entrepreneurship Day Cleveland is on November 12th at the Alumni House on Juniper Road. This event will bring together established and aspiring women entrepreneurs to share ideas, spark action, and create opportunities for businesses. Tech Elevator is hosting a series of open houses through to mid-December. For those interested in a successful technology role, you can ask questions, hear success stories from former students, and find more out about their upcoming events like coding boot camps. You can find out more on techelevator.com. It will seemingly be the last Life, the Universe, and Hot Dogs at the Happy Dog Euclid Tavern, as it's announced it will be closing November 16th, but on the 14th, they are scheduled to host an eco-activism-themed evening. Life, the Universe, and Hot Dogs will happen every fourth Tuesday, except in December, at the original West Side location in Gordon Square. Cocky's Bagel Sandwiches in Lakewood is hosting its Friendsgiving to end childhood hunger again this year on November 16th. Tickets can be purchased online or at the door. There's going to be food, drink, desserts, raffles, along with some live music from some of Cleveland's favorites, including Marina Straw, Michelle Romery, and these guys, Bonnie Clydeman. The band has just released its new single, Hanover Fist, which is available on all your favorite streaming sites. And here it is.
Don't let them kill me! Feel thought that we would be over this, but then you tell me there's no escaping. You gotta finish what you have started, but then I tell you I cannot stay with you forever. I must be leaving, but then you tell me that it is too late. You've got me caught in your trap. By now I would be dead. Maybe we could die together in the light, in the sky. Oh, we love birds, but we hate each other. Oh, I know.
That was Bonnie Clydeman with its latest single, Hanover Fist. You can check their YouTube channel out for a music video on that too. Well, he's a bit of a son of Cleveland. It's Ben Orr, and there's a new book coming out on November 11th. We've got the author with us right now, Joe Milliken. Thank you so much for joining us.
I really appreciate you having me on. I always like to talk to the Cleveland media because of the special connection with Ben.
Yeah.
Being a Parma Heights boy.
Right.
So I really appreciate you having me on. It's an honor.
Oh, well, thank you so much. So it's called Let's Go. It's going to be out on November 11th, and it's a biography about Ben Orr. And I must admit, Joe, I'm a bit of a transplant to Cleveland. I grew up in Ohio, but just came back to Ohio after being in Europe for quite some time. And I got to admit, even though I've been involved, I know a lot about classic rock. I always thought the Cars were a Boston band. And it wasn't until I came to Cleveland that like the bomb dropped that these guys are actually, they sort of Cleveland likes to claim them. So it's quite interesting now that we've got this book coming out. I was just curious, how much did Cleveland actually feature in the Ben Orr story?
Oh, I talk about Cleveland a lot. As a matter of fact, it's ironic that you bring that up because Ben being from Cleveland and learning about his early life in Cleveland, I didn't know anything about that either. And that was actually the hook that made me want to write this book about Ben. When I started this book, I've been a published writer for 20 years, but it's all pretty much magazines and newspapers. So this is my first book. And I was contemplating, I knew it wanted to be about music because I'm a music journalist at heart, but I didn't really know what specifically I was going to write about. And a Cars fan found me on social media, saw that I was from Boston, saw that I was a music journalist. I listed the Cars as one of my early influences. So they contacted me and said, well, you should write a book about Ben Orr. So I thought to myself, well, I mean, if I was going to write a book about that, you would think it would be about the Cars in general and not necessarily an individual member. But she said, no, you should look into Ben individually and see what you think. So I did a little bit of investigating, and I didn't know that Ben was from Cleveland, and I didn't know that he was a childhood star in that city, if you will. And I learned all these things about him, and I'm like, I wonder if other Cars fans know about this. And I talked to a couple of Cars fans that I knew, and they didn't know either, and I just said to myself, this is the hook I'm going to write about. So that's when I decided to write about Ben individually as opposed to the band, because he did all these things 10 or 15 years before he ever became famous in the Cars, and I thought it was a unique story. You know, of course, Cleveland being the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it all fell into place for me. So it's ironic you bring that up, because I did not know that Ben was from Cleveland until I did this investigating, and that was actually the hook that said, "Yep, this is it. I'm going to write his biography," and that's kind of how it started.
So I read that you interviewed lots of different people. I'm assuming you came to Cleveland. Was there anything besides, obviously, a bit like you were, a bit like me, we were a bit naive about his origins. Was there anything else in any of those interviews that kind of were like, that you were surprised about, that you could kind of let us in on?
Well, there were actually a couple of things that surprised me. One was that, I mean, Ben only had one goal in life. I mean, his first band, he was 13 years old when he joined his first band. He joined as a drummer. The band was called the Cyclones. And he knew from a very early age that that is what he wanted to do in life. He wanted to be in a national band, and, you know, maybe not necessarily thinking being famous, but he wanted to be in a national band. And that was his one goal from the get-go, and there was no plan B. So I found that interesting that from such an early age, he knew what he wanted to do in life. And, I mean, he started at 13. By age 17, he was in the Cleveland band, the Grasshoppers, which ended up being the house band on the nationally syndicated TV show Upbeat. So here's this kid at 17 years old, and his band is on national TV. You know, Upbeat was like the American Bandstand of Cleveland, if you will.
Yep.
So, I mean, this kid was, you know, kind of famous at 17 years old. So he quit school as a sophomore in high school because he knew he wanted to be a professional musician, and his parents backed him. I know that sounds kind of crazy nowadays if someone tried to do that, but back then I don't think it was quite as crazy. But his parents actually backed him and understood his talent and knew what he wanted to do in life. So that was pretty amazing to me that this guy could know at such an early age what he wanted to do and to actually fulfill that dream. So that was something unique for sure. The other thing that I think surprised me the most about Ben, and you have to understand, I worked on this book for a decade in my spare time.
Oh, wow.
But even then, you know, Ben had passed away, you know, almost a decade before I had even started this book. So obviously I couldn't interview the man himself. So I took the idea of I need to interview as many people who were around him as I could so they could all be his voice. So I interviewed over 100 people for this book, from bandmates when he was a kid, to classmates when he was young, to record executives when he was famous, to rock photographers, people from all walks of life that knew him well, I interviewed. And one common thread I found throughout was that Ben sort of had two personas. On stage, he was the ultimate rock star.
Yeah.
But when he walked off stage, he flipped the switch and he became a regular person. He was just a regular guy. Didn't go for the spotlight, didn't walk around, with his chest puffed out like, look at me.
Yeah.
He was a hunter. He was a hunter and a fisherman. He liked nature. He loved animals. He was a very private man. So he really was a normal, different kind of guy off stage. And he was very loyal to Cleveland. He always remained friends with his early bandmates in life. Just a really great guy. And that was the other thing that really kind of amazed me about him. Yeah, is exactly that he didn't let the rock and roll lifestyle go to his head, if you will. And,
which is, like you say, is pretty crazy, especially when you start it so young. Like nowadays, all these Disney singers, she'll be unnamed, sort of go off the rails and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he didn't sort of soak all that in.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing how a guy could want to do that from such an early age, and then he actually accomplishes it, and he doesn't let it go to his head.
Yeah.
He remains a mellow person, and true to his friends and true to his hometown, and he was a very humble man. So a very unique individual, to say the least.
Now, did I see that you went to the Rock Hall of Fame award ceremony this past year when the Cars were inducted? Did I see that on social media?
Yes, I was there.
What was that like?
And it was, it was a thrill for sure. I spent maybe 4 days in Cleveland. I got there a day or two beforehand. My public relations coordinator, Donna Neal, and I went to Cleveland for the ceremony. I actually went to, the day before the ceremony, they had a media day event at the Rock Hall, which I attended, and I got to do a couple of local radio interviews. I actually did a Fox TV Cleveland interview that day, so I got to promote the book a little bit the day before, which is amazing. And then the next day, Donna and I attended the Rock Hall ceremony, which was it was incredible to be there for sure.
Yeah, I think the Cars. I think the Cars stole the show. I was way up in the rafters. You were probably down there where the posh people sit.
No.
But
nope, I can tell. I will be honest and tell you that I was in the nosebleed.
You were
myself.
in the rafters. Okay. Who knows? We could have been sat next to each other all that time. We never knew.
You never know. Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a great performance. And unfortunately, I mean, the Cars, when the Cars debut album came out, I was in 7th grade and just starting to get into rock and roll. So they were actually one of the first, they were an early influence on me, musically speaking. So even though they were one of my favorite bands all these years, for some reason, I never saw them in concert back in the day, which just disappoints me big time now.
Yeah, because they were so amazing. They must have been awesome.
Did I never go see that band? So I can at least now say that I got to see a form of the band at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony. So it was really great to be there.
All right. So, now that you told me this took you 10 years, maybe this is maybe I already know the answer to the question, but now that you've got this taste for writing books, do you think you'll ever do another one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I will definitely do another book. Oh, yes. Now that I've experienced it and I've learned a lot, I admit that this being my first book, I was green. you know, I've been published for 20 years, but all newspapers and magazines, which is a totally different animal. So I had a lot of learning to do as far as publishing this book. I for the longest time, I was thinking that I would have to self-publish it. But when I started contacting some publishers, I pretty much got a deal right away, which was a thrill for me. And I definitely want to, it'll definitely be music related. I have a short list of ideas that I want to write about for my next book, but I haven't made that decision yet. I'm going to let this book come out, and I'm going to be doing some promotions for the next few months. So I need to let it settle down a little bit, but I definitely have some ideas, and I do want to do another book, and I definitely will be. Just need to figure out what angle to take at this point.
Yeah.
I will say though, if it's going to be a biography, I'm going to try to do it on somebody that is actually alive, because God rest his soul. It's a lot harder to write a book about somebody
that's
when
not
they're
there.
not with us anymore. So that's one thing I learned, that I'm going to try to make it about somebody who's still with us, so I could actually talk to them.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be a challenge, definitely. But it sounds like you've done a very good job. And so the book's out on November 11th. You can go on to benorbook.com and read more about Joe and read more about the book and pre-order it and all kinds of things. I'm assuming it's on Amazon, so it's all the basic retailers that you would expect to find a book. And we're really excited. Can't wait to read it, Joe.
I really appreciate it. Yes, it is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The publisher is Rowman & Littlefield. It can also be ordered at their website. And I am currently, Donna and I are currently working on, we want to have a couple of book launching events. We do plan on having one in Cleveland.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I feel it's only appropriate to come back to Ben's hometown.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Joe. It's been great to talk to you, and we can't wait to see the book. And obviously, when you're in town, make sure you let us know. We'll let people know about it too.
Oh, I really appreciate it. I will definitely keep you updated, and it's an honor to be on your show. And I want to thank all the Cars and Cleveland fans out there who have supported me with this book. It's greatly appreciated, and I thank you very much.
Now we have new music from Michael McFarland. His 6th album, House of Ghost, features what he says is a maturity of his style and sound. And this song, the single from the album called A Work in Progress, summarizes McFarland's philosophy.
Broken nose and a broken promise. Your smirk says I'm your new accomplice. So let's go. Take a breath if we're being honest. I want a life that's a work in progress still. 'Cause I will be waiting here for you. I don't care if we don't last forever. Feel the fire as we burn together. You believe the living life keeps death at bay. Steal my money and you steal my breath away. You don't care if you're the sole survivor. I'm the passenger and you're the driver. You believe the living life keeps death at bay. Steal my money and you steal my breath away. Scars like a suit of armor, a bloody lip like a badge of honor. Hell hurts to watch it swell. A pretty smile like a barroom brawler. Say you saw my face on a $50 bill. But I will still be waiting here for you. I don't care if we don't last forever. Feel the fire as we burn together. You believe the living life keeps death at bay. Steal my money and you steal my breath away. You don't care if you're the sole survivor. I'm the passenger and you're the driver. You believe the living life keeps death at bay. Steal my money and you steal my breath away. fire as we burn together. You believe that living life keeps death at bay. Steal my money and you steal my breath away. You don't care if you're the sole survivor. I'm the passenger and you're the driver. You believe that living life keeps death at bay. Steal my money and you steal my breath away. I don't care if we don't last forever. Feel the fire as we burn together. You believe that living life keeps death at bay. Steal my money and you steal my breath away. You don't care if you're the sole survivor. I'm the passenger and you're the driver. You believe that living life keeps death at bay. Steal my money and you steal my breath away. Steal my breath away. Steal my breath away. Steal my breath away. Steal my breath away.
That was Michael McFarland's latest single, A Work in Progress, available off his new album called House of Ghosts, which is available as a vinyl, CD, or digital download on michaelmcfarlandmusic.com. You can also catch him at the Stone Tavern in Kent, along with Crunkwitch and Blue Radio on November 23rd. And that's it for this week. Big thanks to author Joe Milliken for sharing his story of Ben Orr. Don't forget to grab your copy of the biography after November 11th. And also a big thanks to Michael McFarland and the boys from Bonnie Clydeman for sharing their new music. You've been listening to the CoolCLE Show, brought to you by CoolCleveland.com. Have a good one.